My name is Magalie Laguerre-Wilkinson. I was a co-producer on the profile that we did of French President Nicolas Sarkozy back in 2007.
He is so pro-U.S., the French call him Sarko the American.
And you speak French, right? So this
Correct, it's my mother tongue. So on and off, I'm in touch with his wife, Cecilia Sarkozy. She knew the importance of being on 60 Minutes, had been encouraging him to do it. Finally, I get this call that they're greenlighting this. So we were told we'd have access to the presidential airplane. We could go around with him throughout France, throughout Paris. Finally, the trip to Bulgaria happens. There's all red carpet, the whole thing. The president arrives, President Sarkozy arrives. Where's Cecilia?
And his wife was supposed to be there.
She was meant to be there to get this honor. And everyone's wondering, where's Cecilia? It's all over the French press. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So finally, the day of the interview comes, and we're told, well, he's not able to do it. President's spokesman says, look, you know, he can't do it. He's just really, really busy. What do you mean he's busy? We know he's busy. He's the president, but we've agreed on all of this. Then he comes back. He says, okay, he's going to give you 10 minutes. So he walks in.
I did interview yesterday.
And he is in a bad mood.
I don't have the time. I have a big job to do. I have a schedule.
Very busy.
So Leslie Stahl, I remember her doing,
Quel imbécile.
and he's telling the spokesman, imbécile, quel imbécile, what an imbecile. Basically belittling the poor guy. So finally,
she's able to calm him down.
she's able to corral him.
We're rolling. Camera's on.
And we ask about an Iran question and so forth. And then Leslie just drops the bomb.
Since we've been here, it seems that every day we're hearing another story about your wife. What's going on?
If I had something to say about Cecilia, I would certainly not do so here.
And we heard from colleagues who were on the other side of the door that when she asked the question about the wife, that his staff went, oh!
But everybody's asking. Even your press secretary was asked at the briefing today. No comment?
He was quite right to make no comment, and no comment. Thank you.
And he gets up and he leaves.
And that's it.
And it was just sort of like, okay, thank you. We are all sort of standing up, mouth agape, completely shocked at what's happened.
Pourquoi?
Okay. Bon courage.
What's unfair?
Bon courage. Au revoir. Merci.
So of course, come to find out that the person who was the spokesman was summarily transferred to another posting.
That interview got someone
That
fired.
interview, let's just say transferred. And within the month that the piece aired, a divorce was pretty much finalized and over. So we were literally in the middle of of marital mayhem.
Allez, bon courage.
And here's the full story for 60 Minutes Overtime.
When Nicolas Sarkozy, France's new president, visits the White House next week, it'll symbolize how much French-American relations have improved since the war in Iraq. Like most of the French, Sarkozy opposes the war, but he's a fan of almost everything else American, from Hollywood movies to the American work ethic. On issue after issue, from Iran to Israel to the war on terrorism, he sides with U.S. policy. He is so pro-U.S., the French call him Sarko the American. The son of an immigrant from Hungary, Nicolas Sarkozy is a real departure from past French presidents. He's prone to flashes of quick temper, and as of last week, he's divorced. He's young, high energy, and thoroughly intriguing. When Nicolas Sarkozy became president in May at 52, he waved goodbye to the old political order and started his own. The inauguration was a dazzling beginning after a tough election in which Sarkozy asked the French people for a mandate for radical change, and got it. Sarkozy showed off his family, happy with comparisons to the Kennedys. His glamorous wife, Cecilia, a former model, her 2 daughters, and his 2 sons from previous marriages, and their own 10-year-old Louis.
De liberté, d'égalité et de fraternité.
Sarkozy's affection for his wife was evident. The 5 months since then have been a whirlwind of made-for-TV appearances, fiery speeches, a drop-in at a mosque, and meetings with a parade of world leaders. Sarkozy is so omnipresent, his countrymen have started calling him Super Sarko, the Energizer president. His style is something the French aren't used to, plunging into crowds and glad-handing. When I first met him for a quick, impromptu conversation on his presidential airplane, he was in a playful mood, grabbing my notes, which he said would put us on an equal footing. But he refused to wear a microphone, which made the audio difficult. They call you Sarko the American. Why?
Because I love America. I want to be friend of America.
But the name?
I am proud of his nickname. J'aime la musique américaine.
You like our music?
No, Elvis Presley, of course.
This story will introduce you to the American people. What do you most want them to know about you?
Je veux que les Américains sachent qu'ils peuvent compter sur.
I want the Americans to know that they can count on us.
Mais quand même temps,
But at the same time, we want to be free to disagree.
U.S.-French relations have been sour for decades. But in 2003, disagreement over the war in Iraq plunged them to a new low when then-President Jacques Chirac openly opposed the Bush administration. Here in the U.S., all things French were denigrated. Their cars were smashed, their wine was dumped, their fries renamed.
Freedom fries.
It became very heated, unpleasant at times.
Jean-David Levitte, France's ambassador to Washington at the time, and now Sarkozy's national security advisor, told us repairing the U.S. relationship is a top Sarkozy priority. He even mentioned it in his acceptance speech the night he was elected president. Why did he go that far as to mention how much he likes America on that occasion?
Well, because he thinks it's important. He thinks that in his campaign, he had to say to the French people, beware, if you elect me, I will implement this program. And part of the program is to rebuild strong, good, friendly relations with the US. And I think he's succeeding magnificently.
To underscore his message, Sarkozy went so far as to spend his first vacation as president of France on a lake in New Hampshire with his family. The Bushes, nearby in Kennebunkport, invited them over for hot dogs, hamburgers, and a little Franco-American bonding. But Sarkozy's personal life and his own temperament began to intrude. His wife, Cecilia, created an embarrassing situation when she snubbed the Bushes by pulling out of the event at the last minute. Back in New Hampshire, Sarkozy had lost his temper at a photographer who had followed him out onto the lake. It turns out France's new president has a habit of letting his anger loose, as we found out as we were setting up for an interview at the Élysée Palace. He started berating his press secretary, calling him an imbecile and worse, for arranging an interview he clearly didn't want to do on a busy day.
He is stupid.
But sir, this is how this is what the American people are going to see.
I don't have the time. I have a big job to do. I have a schedule.
Very busy. Very busy.
Sir, I know you're angry.
Non, je ne suis pas.
I'm not angry. I'm in a hurry.
Ça y est, je vais
Okay,
faire mon travail.
I'm going to do my job.
Don't worry.
Okay, all right.
Quel imbécile.
You have said, I have always had to fight throughout my life. Nothing ever came easily for me. Nobody ever opened any doors. I got used to that. Now, is that the key to Monsieur Sarkozy?
Non, c'est pas ma clé.
That's not the key just for me. It's the key for anybody.
On n'a que ce qu'on va chercher.
You only get what you're prepared to struggle for.
Simplement en attendant.
I was from a middle-class family. I had no connections. Nobody in my family had ever been in politics. I didn't simply become head of state by chance. I became it because I wanted to, and I paid the price for it.
You have told the story of your father telling you that because you didn't have a French name, you were never going to make it in France. You had to go to the United States to become successful.
La preuve, c'est qu'il s'est trompé.
Well, he was proven wrong, but that's what he thought. That a name like Sarkozy was a handicap. That's the reason why I like the U.S. You can be called Schwarzenegger and be governor of California. You can be called Madeleine Albright and be Secretary of State. Colin Powell or Condi Rice and succeed. That's a free country. That's a democratic country. A country that gives a chance to each and every one of its children.
Determined to prove his Hungarian father wrong, Sarkozy went into politics. Even at 23, he was delivering passionate speeches against socialist policies.
Merci. Bon courage, hein?
5 years later, he was the mayor of a wealthy Paris suburb. He became a national figure in 1993 when he walked into a school where a suicide bomber was holding children hostage. He talked the man into releasing them one at a time and carried some of them out himself. The incident established Sarkozy's reputation for courage and risk-taking. As Interior Minister in 2005, he was in charge of the police during 3 weeks of rioting in immigrant neighborhoods all around the country. It was the worst unrest France had seen in decades. It's interesting that as the son of a foreigner, Sarkozy carried out a tough law and order campaign against immigrants. His controversial vow to get rid of the, quote, scum
Vous avez assez de cette bande de racailles.
may have helped him politically in his campaign for president. He ran on a platform of restoring order, reforming the country's expensive cradle-to-grave welfare system, and promoting a new work ethic.
You have a 35-hour work week here.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. You're trying to expand it.
Nous allons changer les choses.
We're going to change things. We're going to change France. We're going to modernize France.
Here he pumps up his coalition in the parliament. Encouraging work is our priority, he says. It's because France is not working hard enough that our society is in bad shape. It's a message Sarkozy takes on the road several times a week, with trips like this one to Dijon. Here at a factory, he preached his gospel of work more, earn more. And he also listened to people tell him their problems. At the end of his visit, he worked the crowds, revving up support for undoing the law that forbids anyone in France from working more than 35 hours a week.
If you want to live holding your head up high, you have to live from what you earn, not off public assistance.
People who've tried to reform in the past, they've also had strikes. Why do you think you can overcome this when people haven't been able to in the past?
Je n'ai pas peur.
I'm not afraid.
But what if the strikes paralyze the city or paralyze the country?
S'il y a des grèves, je dirai aux Français, voilà.
If there are strikes, I will tell the French people, look, it's up to you. Do we stop or do we go on? I say we go on.
Well, the transportation unions did go on strike last week after Sarkozy said he was going to cut their retirement benefits. They shut down the trains and subways. But commuters managed, without a lot of anger at Sarkozy, a sign the public supports his reforms, for now. With his poll numbers still relatively high, Sarkozy's one big problem was his wife. And that his private life had become a public soap opera. He had brought Cecilia into his career. When he was Interior Minister, she had an office next to his, controlling his schedule and his diet. But they had a tempestuous relationship. 2 years ago, she left him for another man. They were photographed together in New York. But Sarkozy talked her into coming back to him. After the election, he sent her on a diplomatic mission to Libya, where she helped negotiate the release of 5 Bulgarian nurses charged with murder. But when the Bulgarians gave the Sarkozys a Medal of Honor in early October, Cecilia was a no-show. The day we interviewed him, Paris was buzzing with rumors that she had left him again. But ask him about it, How dare you?
Since we've been here, it seems that every day we're hearing another story about your wife. What's going on?
If I had something to say about Cecilia, I would certainly not do so here.
But there's a great mystery. Everybody's asking. Even your press secretary was asked at the briefing today. No comment?
He was quite right to make no comment, and no comment. Thank you.
Sarkozy decided the interview was over.
Tu es vraiment un enfant.
And off he went, with the question about his wife left hanging. 2 weeks later, the Élysée announced the Sarkozys were divorced, just like that, a first for a French president. Since then, no evidence that the end of Cecilia is affecting his passion and drive in his job. As it was growing up, every day for Sarkozy is still a battle. Ask him a question, and you could get a fight, as we did when we asked why he's on French television all the time.
And the question is overexposure.
Et vous?
And you? Why did you insist so much that I appear on television?
60 minutes.
Would 60 Minutes be after me if I was of no interest?
Si je ne vous intéressais pas.
Touché. Touché.
Coulez.
Gotcha.